my name is Lynn Wapchinsky. I'm a writer at Superbroadcast.
Hi everyone, I'm Shu En. I'm also a writer at Superbroadcast. I also do film and filmmaking. I'm currently in university. Yeah, so for me, I'm Chinese Singaporean, and my parents were from Singapore, and I think my grandparents were from Singapore as well. And then after it stops there, then they came from China. So it's been about maybe a few hundred years, like no, not a few hundred, I guess, a few decades of being here. And I would say that with the people I hang out with, I find that it's not that common to have, because there are a lot of immigrants in Singapore, right? So not that common to have like a group of friends where everyone is Singaporean, because there's that sort of like, I think at least in every friend group I've been in, someone has either mixed or immigrated from another country.
I mean, I think I have a bit more of an complicated one just because I've been to so many places. We're talking about this off screen, but I was born in Israel, but I left when I was really young, and then I moved to Europe and spent 6 years there, spent most of my childhood there, and then I moved here. And it was definitely I was young, but it was definitely a culture shock, even with not just culture, but climate as well. Because in Europe, there's fluctuating temperature and weather. And so coming to Singapore, everything I noticed was a bit more traditional and I don't know. I mean, it was definitely really cool because there's kind of a melting pot of different cultures. Like you mentioned, there's lots of expats and stuff. So you get to meet so many people, different people from different countries, and especially going to an international school, you get to meet people all the way from Uruguay to I don't even know, Sri Lanka. So it's super diverse, which is really nice. So that was definitely one of the things that I noticed when I came here and was a really cool thing.
Maybe it wasn't to ask why did you choose to go to an international school here?
To be honest, it wasn't really my choice. My parents kind of picked it. But previously, when I went to Holland, I went to an American school, and it was also international, I believe. I'm not sure, but I guess they just wanted me to go just because it's a really great environment to be in. Like I said, you get to meet so many different people, so it's great because in the future, when you are an adult, you are going to meet so many people as well. So it's just kind of starting it at young, I guess, kind of builds a nicer mentality, I guess, because you're friendlier to people from different cultures, and it's just being nice to people, you know. So I guess that's why. But one question I have is what have you noticed in what is your favorite part of Singaporean culture, being in Singapore for so long?
I think, maybe it's even harder to answer this because I've been in Singapore for so long. To spot a favorite part of what seems always to be normal is Singaporean culture. I think honestly we are quite friendly in the sense that there is some sort of social responsibility that some Singaporeans take upon themselves to act to have the portray a certain friendliness. I think I feel I do see this. For example, giving up seats. It feels like something that you don't really have to, if someone does it on the MRT, you don't go, wow, that's so good. It's oh, why didn't you do it? You know, right? It's
for sure.
I think it's nice to have also the safety part of it.
For sure.
There's this sort of assurance that you can go out at 11 o'clock and slides and I don't expect to have to run at 11 if there's any danger. So I go out in shoes that's just not appropriate to be running at all. Sometimes I walk and I think to myself, I feel this is dangerous somewhere else.
Definitely.
This is not the safest somewhere else. But that sort of security, I think, is something that I do value. Culture wise, I think I do have these nice things. For example, in HDB flats, right? There's a certain quota of races that have to live within one HDB flat. So I think it's nice also that my neighbours are Malay, and during Chinese New Year and for Hari Raya, for them we swap goodies or ang pao and some sort of I think they're still keeping, even though we're not the most close in the sense that we don't interact every day, there's still that thought that it's their celebration, you should know about that and maybe respect that as well.
That's so cool.
That's kind of cool.
I mean, in my school we have this thing called, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's International Fiesta. So they bring in people bring in cultural foods from their nationalities, and it's super cool because you get to try like different cuisines. And so like that's just an example of something that's so cool that my school does in international school. So it like you get to try Singaporean food, even though you know you can go to like the food courts here, but you can also try foods from like countries you've never been to. So it like gives you a taste of like what it's like to live there, which is really nice. So
I think that's really cool though.
Yeah.
Like being in an environment that has just so many cultures that everyone is like there's a common point. All of you live in Singapore, maybe like yourself being a third culture kid. Then maybe all of you have that like things to bond over, but at the same time also have their own differences. That I think that's like super cool.
I think it's like definitely something that like even local schools could try to implement because it's so like helpful for people. It just kind of like I said, it builds like a really good mentality for you in the future to have. So
Oh, what would you say like of all the food that you tried, like which country that you haven't been to that you're most interested in visiting after like the international fiesta?
That is such a good question. I would say like wow, this is a while back because we haven't had an international fiesta for a while just because of COVID. But from what I remember, I think like I think Korea. Yeah, I've never been. Yeah, and the food was just like delicious.
Korean food is so good.
Yeah.
I actually the funny thing is I think there are a lot of Korean people or Korean their parents are from Korea. They come specifically to Singapore to study. Because you just have the benefit like if they're Korean they speak their mother tongue at home.
Right.
And then there's like English and Chinese that they get to learn in school. So the kid after graduating the system they get to speak 3 languages. So I ended up having a lot of classmates and friends who were from Korea.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think that is the most out of ASEAN that has in I think in my interactions. One of my JC classmates is from Korea. His parents are from Korea. I think I'm not sure if he's Singaporean PR now. He got his status citizenship yet or not, but somewhere around there. So he always like does talk about the type of food that he experiences and I think also their names are very unique, right? So I think it does stand out also. Like even when you look on the name list, they're like, oh yeah, the guy, the guy is Korean or the guy is I don't think I've had a Japanese classmate, but there was someone in my school who was Japanese as well. But usually within the Asian,
right.
So,
I mean, you mentioned something really cool of like learning different languages. Another thing that like I don't know if your school did it, but my school like requires you to take another language. So you can either choose Spanish or Chinese, which is another example of something that's like so cool because you get to learn a whole nother culture's language. So for me, like I'm learning Spanish still. I've learned it like since I came to my school, and so
you're pretty like fluent in Spanish.
I mean, honestly, no. I'm honest. It's really sad, but no, I'm not really fluent. But it's still really cool to learn about it and just like experience what it's like to be like a Spanish speaking person, even though I'm really not.
Talking about third lang, actually in local schools as well, they do offer this like in so from after primary school, secondary school, when the secondary school starts, you are allowed to, if you did well enough in primary school, you're allowed to learn a third language. I learned French for 4 years and you couldn't, like, you held a gun to my head. I couldn't say a single French word.
Oh my god, it seems so difficult,
So I was like, I can read it, but because French and English have some, like, similarities, especially in the alphabet and stuff, so you can kind of, like, decipher, I get the meaning of this sentence. But when a French person speaks, because I think at working at the climbing gym now, there are quite a few French people who climb, and then sometimes when they speak to, like, their own family in French, I'm like, ooh, I hear like 3 words that I know. And then between that, I have to guess between like what the whole sentence means.
Yeah, same thing with me exactly.
Spanish as well.
Yeah, like in a movie, if I'm watching a Spanish movie, I can maybe like point out 3 things as well, and then I'm done. Like I need subtitles the whole time. Yeah, I completely relate. Yeah. What else?
Wow, I think that was their attempt to get like kids to get interested in third language or different culture. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how they do the Spanish lessons there, but for French it was like 3 hours, 3 hours a week, but it's all crammed on one day.
Oh.
So like all the kids are so tired from school at like
Yeah.
2 o'clock, and then they bus us over to Bishan into this like non-air conditioned classroom, and it's so
Oh,
hot.
no.
And then for 3 hours you just sat there pretending to understand French.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's different for us because in my school we have these alternating days. We have A days and B days, so they alternate every day. And if you had Spanish on like A day, it would just be like every other day.
Oh.
So and then it's only like about 80 minutes per class, so it's pretty like relaxing and lenient.
Yeah.
And usually our Spanish teachers, like, they're super cool, they're super laid back, and so you get to learn at like a pretty nice pace. So no complaining. I'm just not good at Spanish. That just
Oh, I don't know if I should say this. I'll say this off camera because it's a little bit scandalous. But
Okay,
yeah, something
maybe.
to do with one of the French teachers at our school who made the papers for a very wrong reason.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I think in many ways also it's great that there's this constant like, encouragement to learn a language outside your comfort zone or learn about cultures outside your comfort zone as well. I think sometimes for like local school students rarely get to interact with international school. I remember I think I went to, is your school in Woodlands?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I went there once.
Oh no, not Woodlands, Woodley. I always get mixed up.
Woodley,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
That's SAS,
I got mixed up as well. So we had I used to be basketball in JC. So we had this like fake friendly match with the school in I don't know what the school name, American
SAS, yeah.
SAS, yeah, in Woodlands.
Yeah.
And I went to your school in Woodley.
Oh,
and
really?
I was like, no.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm in the completely wrong place.
Yeah, it's really far.
It's so far away. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna miss that.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, so I think also very rare that like local school students have an idea of like what the culture international school is like. Maybe we have some like stereotypes
Yeah.
a little bit, but like maybe you can talk a bit more about like how how do you think like international school differs from local school in terms of like education priorities or maybe anything.
Okay.
Can come to
Well,
mind.
I'm gonna speak just solely on behalf of the international system because again, I've never been to a local school. But what I will say is that I guess they like to prioritize like learning not just academics, but also like practical skills, if that makes sense. So my school is kind of trying out some like classes that will actually help you in the future past college. So we have this new class called consumer math, which is math based on just like personal finances and loans and like wages. So it's like not algebraic math, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's really cool.
Yeah.
And we have like other subjects like that. Like we have public debate class, like stuff like that. So I guess they're trying to kind of change the way that the school system is currently run, which I think is fair because it's pretty outdated.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice. So I guess that's like the first thing that comes to mind. But like, what about you? What would you say is like?
I think that's cool though that you have so much like flexibility. I think because of this, I guess there are lesser international school students than local school students in Singapore. So there's more flexibility in terms of if I want to adjust the curriculum, I have to deal with less backlash from people, I guess, who are a little bit more upset about it. But here, like, if they wanted to change math into consumer math, I'm sure it will take another like 10, 15 years to do something like that. But then, that's really cool. So I think, like you said, AP subject's not something I'm very familiar with. I know because one of my friends, she moved to the US halfway through her study here, and she said, she was taking AP chemistry, and I was like, I couldn't even do normal chemistry like in school. I was like, no, So how do you think like it's tougher? Because I know local school students always complain about, oh god, A levels is so tough, or like Singapore's school system is so tough. Do you think it's like it gives you more space for holistic learning, and I think it's not about which is better because it's tougher, definitely.
Right,
because
for sure.
like how difficult the subject isn't a measure of how good the education of it is, right?
Right.
Yeah. But do you think like it is better for a child, I guess, to have a little bit more like holistic?
Yeah. So I would say that it kind of I need to think about that. I I would say, because in my school we have like multiple programs. It's not just AP. Like, so we have IB, AP, and then we also have BTech. So there's, like you said, a lot of flexibility in what you do and what you choose to do. So I would say, like, if you are going for a more holistic approach, international like schools do offer that and can give you more of like I said, like learning beyond just academics. And it is like harder, I guess, to some degree, because like if you compare IB to AP, there are things within both programs that are harder and easier, right? And then if we compare like A levels with the IB, like it's the same thing. So I really don't know, because like AP is hard to some degree, and it is harder in some areas if we compare it to other programs. So I mean, I don't really know.
I do think there's like a bit of a stereotype, I guess, with local students. I don't really agree with this in the sense that, how to say, like, there's always this complaint that, oh, if a Singaporean student went to overseas to do like the same curriculum, they would definitely they'll have it better, or they'll have it easier, because the stuff here is harder. Okay, personally, I've never experienced the AP stuff, and I don't think, I definitely don't think it's easy. But
No,
I definitely don't think it's easy. And I was thinking, like, I think that maybe, from your point of view, an international student can try to like break that stereotype, because I think there's also, like, for example, after school, like, what are some of the after school activities you do? Because Singaporeans just all that complain that after school is just going back to mugging or like CCAs and stuff. So do you have more like space for that?
We do have space, but we also do have to do like CCAs and after school things. In my school specifically, we have to do this thing called CAS, which stands for Creativity, Action, and Service, and it's something that you have to complete in order to graduate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you have to do at least 3, I believe. I'm really bad at CAS, but you have to do at least 3 like experiences is what they call them. So I do have a few things. So I'm in the student council. I run the student-led newspaper in our school, and then this also counts as like an experience. So I also write for Superbroadcast and do other publications. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of other things to do outside of school.
Right.
So and what you said about breaking the stereotype of it not being as hard as it definitely is not a great stereotype, because I mean, I think what people need to understand is that because the programs are so different, like the difficulty level depends on the person, right? Like some people can maybe do AP and say, that's easy, but like the difference with AP and like IB, I would say, is I can talk about that because my brother actually did IB and I'm doing AP, so I can kind of see the differences. So for example, the AP is actually not exactly a program, it's a pathway. So you just pick as many or as little courses as you want, and then if you get a good score, which is like out of 5 is the best score, you can send in those scores, or you don't have to if you get a bad score.
Okay.
And it's a 1-year course. So unlike the IB, I don't know about A levels, but the IB for sure is a 2-year program. So the first year, so the first year you get to like just study, and then the next year you do all of your exams.
Right.
So it's a lot of a like longer process, and it's a lot more like slow paced, whereas the AP is like very fast. You have to learn within a year and then do the exam at the end of the year.
Right.
So it really is about
suits different people, right?
Definitely, and for me, like, I would say that I work better in doing things really fast. So that's why I prefer, and that's why I chose that pathway. So it's just about like knowing where your strengths lie, and then just picking a program that suits you.
Definitely, I think it's great that you spoke about it, because I feel like sometimes the comparison sometimes gets a little bit like maybe you should try it.
Right.
Because you don't also get, I think also in some ways we don't really get to experience AP, and also and not Singaporeans get. Have you tried the SATs before?
I have. I have done the ACT, but I've done the pre-SAT, so I haven't actually done the but
because I feel like all of us, like, we look at SATs and we're like,
that's a whole nother thing. So
that's a different thing.
If you do AP, you can also choose to do a standardized test, either the SAT or the ACT. So in addition to doing the AP pathway, you also have to do a standardized test. So it's a whole lot of things, because it usually sometimes some universities don't just accept AP, which is why you have to take a standardized test. So it sucks because you have to take like a whole nother thing, and
Is AP standardized across like every American system, every American school system?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe
okay,
so.
okay. Oh, that's
yeah.
cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
your teachers will be from America, or they just take the textbooks from there?
I believe. I mean, I think both. I mean, you can take the textbook, but some of them are like coming from different programs as well in teaching. Like, if you really think about it, anyone can teach the AP as long as you understand the material. It's just about the way that you're teaching the course. That's all that matters. You just have to teach it quickly, and you have to like do the exam. Yeah, just speed is like your best friend in the AP. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So,
yeah.
How would you say like that differs from the program that you chose, right? Because in high school, because you're in university now, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you can remember,
so I'm not sure how many years of high school do you have?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so for us, we split into secondary school and then JC.
Okay.
So after secondary school is 4 years from around 13 to 16. So at 16 years old, you take your O-level exams. After you take O-levels, you can choose to go to poly, or you can go to JC, or you can go other, like, for example, if you're into arts, you can go into like a LaSalle or NAFA for the arts courses. I'm not really sure how many years that is, but for the poly diploma, it's always 3 years, and for JC, it's 2 years. So there are some students who finish their, they come out with A-level. A-level cert honestly means nothing in the working world in some ways. So some people choose their diplomas because they not sure if they want to go to uni, or they're already very certain of what they want to do. So for A-levels, the way it works is that you just do a bunch of generic subjects like history, lit, econs, math. So we don't really have things like psychology, for example. But you can have psychology in poly. So you could do early childhood, or you could do psychology. These are more like focused courses, and they are more is to prep you to go to work. But these diplomas still can be used to apply to unis, and I think it's changing now. In the past, it used to be rarer that poly students are able to go to uni, but nowadays it's definitely much more common.
I see.
Yeah, so for A-levels, I think the way poly works is that your GPA, they do by GPA also, and then it comes out of like four or five, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if a certain GPA gets you into certain courses, and this GPA is compounded across the 3 years. So if you're not someone that's good at maintaining that sort of academic rigor, or that sort of like, poly is a lot more project work, I guess. So sometimes, depending on the course, it can be a bit more emotionally draining, knowing that every assignment matters towards your final GPA. And if you're looking to go to uni, that becomes important.
Yeah.
But for A-levels, they don't really look at the grades. So my entire JC grades, I basically failed math for the whole of JC.
Oh no.
I basically, yeah, because to me, I felt like I wanted to focus on, I kind of knew that I wanted to do film. And I think some people see this as rigidness in the A-level system, in that there is so much coursework that you only have to study for this. And for poly, you have maybe, I guess, you can explore within that diploma that you're choosing. But for A-levels, you have to fulfill this syllabus that has been done and dusted for so many years. Yeah. So because I kind of knew I wanted to do film, so I didn't really put so much attention into my academic studies until the A-levels. Like, I just knew that I needed a certificate to get. We do RP points, so like an A is 20 points, and then you calculate the amount of points out of 90, and then that gets you, it's that kind of stuff. So like just a certain like base grade for me to get into any uni any course that I wanted. So, of course, there's more uncertainty for that lah. Like, some people are not willing to say that, oh, I'm gonna ignore my ACADS for 2 years plus, and then last minute just go for it. I think I'm like you also. I'm very much better at cramming stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so condensing knowledge is something that I think I know I'm better at, rather than like trying to memorize the entire syllabus over the course of 2 years.
Yeah.
Superbroadcast.